Hey guys, how are you? It's I think January 17th, roughly 18th, somewhere in there. And today I don't have any wrenching videos, but I do have to build another table, so I figured I'd do a little bit more in-depth video on how I build these tables, and I'll give you guys a cut list in the comments below, materials and cut list, or in the description of the video. But I've got my saw already set up, my miter saw. I'm using a few pieces of scrap that I had left over from the other tables, and I've got those measured and marked, but then I got to jump back into my new lumber, I guess you could say, or the uncut lumber. So I do have the drawing of the table here. See if I can get a decent. So there's the tabletop. That will be, I believe, 2x10s. This is the side view of the table, or the X end of it. So overall it'll be 22 inches high to the top of the tabletop. And this is a front view showing the shelf on the bottom. And there's our cut list. So, but I'll put all the cut list items in the description below. I want to kind of get started on this because it's supposed to get pretty darn cold the next few days. So I wanted to get this part done. That way I can at least bring it in the house and do the paint work and stuff on it. So let's start cutting.
Tooth in my swallows, so flat I couldn't feel the freckles in your hollows, the gaps in my ideals. While we waiting on a bullet train, we need a Ferris wheel. To be silent is to paraphrase, and to stretch your sex appeal. Low we go. I go nowhere new without you, 'cause you're nothing new to me. I've been visiting our future in a vintage time machine. Low we go. I'm in the pursuit of the breaths dearly drawn. In the mouths of the givers lives only this song.
Alright, well, there's all our pieces laid out. So now this is our top. So what we're going to do is we're going to join all these together using the Craig jig and the proper length screws for that. So those will all be joined together. This is our bottom shelf here. So these three 2x8 or 1x8s will be joined together. For these, two of these are going to be sides for the shelf. So it will look something like this. Okay, and then two will be sides underneath the table here, so it'll look like this under the tabletop, and then the frame, the side frame pieces or the legs will go on either side of that. So that's essentially what we got to do. Let me get set up to start drilling with the Craig jig, and we'll keep moving. Okay guys, I'm going to show you quick how to set up the Craig jig. Now this is just a simple Craig jig, just a 2-hole. They make all different kinds for all different prices and applications. But this is just a simple one. But essentially, to set this up to drill angled holes into the wood to join two pieces of wood together, pocket holes, there are a series of measurements on the side here. And in order to set this up properly, you measure the thickness of the wood you're drilling into, and then you set it up so that the measurements line up with these arrows here. And that'll allow this to sit on the wood and give you the proper distance back from the edge of the wood to drill. And so that's the jig itself, and then you've got the drill bit that's included in the kit. Now there's also a series of measurements of thicknesses here on the side. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but right along here there's a series of measurements, and then this collar gets loosened up and set to the same thickness that you set your Craig jig up to. Except I got this really tight, so I got to use the other end of the wrench. So you just set it to whatever thickness your wood is. And right now we're drilling through 2x, so it'll be 1.5 inches thick. Jeez. It's pretty cold in the garage, so my fingers are kind of numbish. I'll just tighten that collar up, and that collar just acts as a stop, so you don't drill in too far and then drill out through the side of the wood, and then your pocket hole would just be a hole. It wouldn't be, you know, set up to drill a pocket. But the third piece is a large C-clamp vice grip. This is a Craig specific, but any flat-based foot pad C-clamp will do. Essentially, you're just, you know, sliding it into the Craig jig and clamping it to the piece of wood so that your jig doesn't move around when you're trying to drill. So let's go ahead and get this
so when
set
you
up
get your jig clamped on, it should
look something like this. And then we're just going to run the drill bit into the hole. And you want to start turning the drill bit before you make contact with the wood, because that little pilot hole section of the drill bit can break off if you don't. So just like that. Flip it around, go to the other side. It's a lot easier to do on a workbench. But my workbench is full of junk. Got all of our shelving side pieces drilled. We've got our braces drilled that go between our legs. Now we just have to do the tabletop and the shelf. So the tabletop I'll do next, and then I have to make an adjustment for this drill bit, the stop collar, as well as the jig itself, because those are 1-bys. So we'll have to change the depth that we're drilling. But let's move on to the tabletop. Let me get set up and we'll keep moving. Alright, now we'll do the same thing to the 1x. So that part I'm going to leave out since you just watched me do this part of the table. But once we get that done, we'll turn the camera back on and set everything up to drill back together, or screw together. Alright guys, well, time to screw some stuff together. And biggest thing is make sure all your edges are flush. Make sure that these tabletop pieces are flush. And then, oh, I forgot, I got a glue in between here. So let me grab my glue quick. And the glue is very cold, so it's going to be quite stubborn. Very cold. It's a disadvantage of working outside in the garage. Hopefully I can get it to come out here. Oh, give me a minute. Alright, well I'm going to let the glue warm up in the house a little bit. It's too cold to use right now. So we'll get everything else together and then we'll finish the tabletop last. But right now I'm just going to put together the sides and go from there. Now, this is the top where the tabletop's going to rest on top of, and the bottom will have a shelf, and I've got the bottom brace up from the floor about 1.5 inches. So the top of the shelf will actually be 3 inches off the ground. So go ahead and get that screwed into place, and then same thing on the next side. To finish these up, I'll make those cross braces, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But let's get the other side screwed together. We'll work on the bottom shelf. We'll screw the cross braces together and go from there. Okay guys, as you can see, I got the frame and bottom shelf assembled. I also already cut and mounted my X design braces, but I wanted to show you guys how I do it, you know, for those braces. Essentially, you put the sides together, you know, you screw everything together. So you got your pocket holes here that screw into the legs for the bottom brace. Same thing on the top brace. So pocket holes screw into the inside of the leg. So then you got your one side. Same thing on the other side. And then your shelf, you know, all your planks get screwed together with pocket holes. And I probably way overdid it with all these pocket holes, but I figure what the heck. too many is better than not enough. But I'm gonna have to plug the camera in here. I see the cold is getting to it. So once your shelf is together, you put your 1 or your 2x2 sides on, just one on each side, a runner, and then up top there's a 2x2 spacer that goes between the two sides. So let me plug the camera in quick. I see it's really blinking at me, so give me just a few minutes to charge it and we'll be right back. Okay, essentially what you want to do is lay your 2x2 across here, and then from the underside, from under here, you'll take a pencil and scribe your lines to mark your angles, and then you just cut them on your miter saw and go from there. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So if I line up corner to corner on this, I can just take my pencil and mark my lines. Same thing on the other end, and then take it over to the miter saw and cut it. And let me do that quick. Alright, so our braces are in place. Now occasionally you may have to cut just the tip of this angle off to get it to fit properly, but everything's in place. And now I'm going to pre-drill the holes from the bottom up through this 2x4 on all 4 corners, and then I'll just attach these braces with a 2-inch, basically it's just a 2-inch deck screw. So that's how I'm going to attach them. Be careful, you don't want to drill too close to the edge or use too long of a screw, because you'll come through the top side of the brace. But I usually go, about an inch back from the edge of the 2x4 or the end of the 2x4, and then just pre-drill my hole, and that way it prevents splitting of these braces. But that's about it. I'm just waiting for the wood glue to warm up so I can glue these planks together and then screw together the top section, the tabletop, and that's all there is to it. So let's get these braces in. I'll see if the glue's warm enough, and we'll finish up the top. Alright guys, well, there it is. There you have it. So the tabletop is glued and screwed together. The braces are in. The bottom shelf is in. So the only thing left to do now is sand it, paint it, and stain it. One of the things I want to mention, when you glue these top planks together, after everything's screwed together, try and get as much of the wood glue out of here that squeezes up through as you can, because otherwise you got to try and sand it out too, because when you stain it, that wood glue will end up being a light color, because it'll just be, you'll be putting stain over the top of the glue, which is not going to stick to that part. So you have to try to get the glue out of there, in the portions that you can see anyways. Otherwise it's just going to be like basically a protectant over the wood that's not going to allow the stain to stick in those areas. So you either got to wipe it out with a warm wet washcloth, or use a sander and sand inside these grooves as good as you can, or a piece of sandpaper, and run it back and forth, and that'll hopefully help get you guys a nice tabletop without any wood glue sticking through or coming through the stain. And that's all there is to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really don't have any tractor wrenching going on, so plus it's getting really cold out the next few days, so you ain't gonna be doing nothing outside. But yeah, I don't know, it was just a just another video I could bring to you guys for those of you whose wives have got you on some type of Pinterest projects or something like that. This is one way you could do it. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for building with me, and stay tuned. I think in the next video we'll do a little bit of a time lapse of some carburetors that I'm doing over at Rudy's. So stay tuned for that, and take care. See you later.